college football regular season was done, we're seeing teams that are dominating still, or teams that are falling out of the rankings. Now, with the college football playoff rankings coming out, or the latest poll coming out, we're seeing teams like Ohio State and LSU going back and forth with the 1 and 2 spot, as well as teams that are rising, like Oklahoma and Georgia, and then teams like Alabama that are falling out. Now, for me, here are my top 8. First off, I'll do the honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is Minnesota. I still think they're a top 8 team, though their only good win was probably Penn State. Penn State was number 4 at the time, but overall, Penn State is not going to get you into the top 4 or even into the playoffs. Now, when you face the bottom of the Big Ten, it's not going to help you as much when it comes to strength of record or strength of schedule kind of area. But my second honorable mention is Utah. Now, the Pac-12 only has 3 good teams right now, with it being USC and then Oregon. The one downside about Utah is if the Pac-12 actually had like a championship or a championship game, and Oregon and Utah played, it would be a better indicator of where they should be. I think that they should be in the probably top 6 if it was happening, if there was a Pac-12 championship game. But no. I mean, they do have good wins, but still it's weak non-conference play and not as great as teams as other conferences. And the loss to USC was probably a big one. If they were undefeated, I think they would have been placed in the top 6 at least. In my opinion, they're in the 7 right now. But for number 6, I put Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is a little bit better than Utah, mainly because of the conference play as well. They are facing more tougher competition in that. I mean, like Texas, Baylor, Iowa State, mainly. If they can get those wins, I think that's going to be great for them. I think that's 3 good wins that are in the top 25. But I think that the loss to Kansas State really affected them too much. I think that a lot of people, even the analysts, that think that maybe Oklahoma is not ready to be in the top 6 of the conference play or the college football playoffs. But we'll see how they do against Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma State beats them, or if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, we can see maybe a difference where Oklahoma's going to land. Number 5, I put Alabama. I think Alabama's a great team and all, but their weak non-conference play has really affected them. Non-conference play needs to be a little bit better than some Division II or Division I mid-major team. If they were facing a little bit more tougher competition or out of state, not out of state, but out of like different conferences, like maybe ACC or something, I could see them being a little bit higher. But right now, a little bit poor play out of conference, and then with dominant play in conference, I think that'll help them. But still, they're still a 5. They're on the brink. I would say once it gets to Auburn, and if they win, I think that they're good. But overall, it just depends. At 4, I put Georgia. Georgia's a great team. They have wins against number 12 Auburn, number 6 Florida, and number 7 Notre Dame. Most of their games are at home though, which it could affect them. That's like Alabama. The only loss comes to unranked South Carolina at home, which is going to be a big indicator of where they could be. Also, once it comes to December 7th, when they face LSU, I think that if they win, I think they're a sure thing in the college football playoffs. But if they lose, I think that Oklahoma may come and take the spot. It all depends. If Alabama and Georgia both lose to either Auburn or LSU, and then Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, I think that Oklahoma would probably be in top 4. Number 3, I put Clemson. Clemson does face really easy, not really easy, but really not tough competition kind of thing. It's not the best conference. I mean, out of all the conferences or the Power 5 conferences, ACC is probably the worst. Mainly because they don't have much competition. Most of their teams that are used to be good are now not even playing to the expectations, which is really bad for them. Uh, yeah, and then number two, I put Ohio State, mainly because I feel like they're not ready to be number one right now. They do have good wins against Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Indiana. That's great for them. But I still think that with LSU having greater wins with like Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Texas, and Texas A&M, I think they have a little bit more of an edge uh, over Ohio State. I mean, both teams are great. It's hard to put which where's or it's hard to put which team where. I think it's very difficult on where we think it will be. But I think if Ohio State beats Michigan and then maybe LSU loses to Georgia, I think that Ohio State will take the number one spot. And then, but I feel like if Clemson is still going to be a three spot, no matter what, I think. Even if Ohio State and LSU lose, I still think they don't have the wins that should lead them to those two spots. But yeah, if you like the video, like and subscribe. Leave a comment on if I missed anything. But yeah.